Human history has a pattern. We don't gently correct, we overcorrect. We don't calibrate, we revolt. And we rarely notice the swing until we're already at the other extreme. The question isn't whether the pendulum will swing, it's whether we can learn to slow it down. This is Gray, where we sit in complexity, resist extremes, and talk about life lived in the gray. I'm Angela. If you look closely at almost any cultural shift, you'll notice a familiar rhythm. One extreme creates harm. That harm sparks backlash. And instead of moving towards balance, we swing hard in the opposite direction. Today, we're talking about the pendulum and why humanity is so prone to overcorrection, and why the middle often feels like the least satisfying place to land. Overcorrection feels like relief. When something hurts us, we don't want moderation, we want distance. We don't want nuance. We want certainty that harm won't happen again. So we swing from silence to shouting, from rigidity to chaos, from blind trust to total suspicion. The problem is that reaction feels like resolution, but it isn't. The middle requires restraint. It asks us to hold complexity instead of choosing a side, to admit that something can be both helpful and harmful, to resist the emotional satisfaction of extremes. The middle doesn't offer the clarity of villains and heroes. It offers responsibility. And responsibility is heavier than outrage. We see this pattern everywhere. In politics, moving from authority to rebellion, from rebellion back to control. In culture, oscillating between repression and excess. In faith, between structure and spontaneity, tradition and novelty. Each swing is a reaction to the last. Rarely is it a response rooted in discernment. And every overcorrection creates the conditions for the next backlash. Extremes offer simplicity. They tell us who to blame, what to reject, where to stand. Nuance, on the other hand, requires us to stay engaged, to think, to weigh, to tolerate tension. Extremes outsource thinking. The middle demands it. A culture that lives at the extremes becomes unstable. It loses institutional memory. It repeats the same mistakes under different names. It mistakes reaction for wisdom. And over time, the pendulum doesn't just swing, it accelerates. Each movement becomes more aggressive, more absolutist, less human. The pendulum doesn't slow on its own. It slows when individuals choose discernment over reaction, when they refuse to let pain dictate ideology, when they're willing to say, something was wrong, but this isn't the solution either. Balance isn't passive, it's disciplined. Think about an area of your life or culture where you've seen the swing. Ask yourself, what harm was this reaction responding to? What truth is being preserved? What truth might be getting lost? Wisdom lives in those questions. The middle may not feel heroic, it may not feel radical, but it's often where healing begins. The future doesn't belong to the loudest extremes. It belongs to those willing to stay centered, even when the pendulum pulls hard in both directions. This is Gray, because life is rarely black and white.